welcome to Lens on the World. I'm your host, Xinyu Zhang.
1927, but somehow it was dissolved and no additional information was found. So with friends and families and support, well, my husband and I decided to recharter the Boston Lodge actually in 12, 13, 14.
So a lot of the early Chinese students came here and they have a certain amount of Christian training. So even though they were trained in engineering or science or medicine, but when they got back to China, many of them were Christians. And the Qing government at the time was very afraid of this Western influence of Jesus Christ, of Christianity. So they were afraid that the students coming back would spread the gospel to China. So they started limiting the number of students from China that can come to the United States. And the Christian and the Protestant leaders said, well, if the Chinese are not going to allow students come to the United States, we're not going to allow their workers to come to the United States. So that was how it originally started. But that movement by the Christians and Protestants turned into a movement by Western congressmen and senators to eliminate or forbid further Chinese from coming to the United States. So it was kind of hijacked. It originally started as a retaliation by the U.S. Government for not admitting more Chinese, or allowing more Chinese students to come to the United States. And it was hijacked by the Western states congressional delegation to this Chinese Exclusion Act, which actually is the first racial barrier in the United States for any groups.
Yeah, actually, Chinese American people is immigration people has contribute a lot in U.S. history. So what can we do today? Have anything you involve in the politics and to advocate something for Chinese rights, Chinese immigration people?
So I grew up in Washington, D.C. in the 60s. I saw firsthand the riots that took place after the assassination of Martin Luther King. My classmates in elementary school were African American. My first sleepover as a 12-year-old boy was at the home of an African American friend. So I completely relate to the struggle and the values of the African American community. For too long, Chinese and Asians, we have benefited tremendously from the civil rights movements of Martin Luther King. We have benefited tremendously from the labor movement and the civil rights movement of Cesar Chavez. But if you look at the history book, not too many Chinese or Asian American leaders have stepped up. Well, we know there's a very famous lady, Grace Lee Bok. She's a very active Chinese American who stood side by side with Martin Luther King during the civil rights. But other than her and maybe a few others, the mainstream Chinese American leadership was not involved in the civil rights movement in the 60s. Now it's 2016. There's no question that Asians and Chinese have made great strides economically. We have made great strides educationally. I mean, you go to all these Ivy League colleges, Asian student population is over 20%, most of these great schools. But we need to reach out to the African American community. We need to reach out to the Hispanic American community and also the Muslim community. We need to reach out to all groups that we are part of the struggle to demand equality.
I think a great conversation, great point. Thank you so much for being on the show. We will see you next time.
Great, thank you. I really enjoyed it. God bless you.
God bless you too.